Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Metal Meltdown. Today, we are talking about a brand new studio album from Conjurer entitled Pathos. This is the sophomore studio album from UK post-metal, sludge metal, hardcore fusion crew Conjurer. They dropped their debut Mire back in 2018, and then they got to work right away on some collaborative records and splits with Pigeon and Palm Reader respectively, both of which came out in 2019. And then a whole lot of nothing happened, which sounds weird considering the amount of hype and momentum circulating around Conjurer at the time, but, you know, keep in mind, this fun thing called COVID-19 happened and ravaged the fucking globe. So, yeah. On the bright side, though, it appears as though Conjurer used their COVID-19 downtime very wisely, because now they are signed to Nuclear Blast Records, and they have now presented us with their sophomore studio album, Pathos, which is in every single way bigger, bleaker, and heavier than 2018's Mire. Musically, this is a much darker and a much more dynamic record. The riffs are bigger, the percussion is louder, the vocals are a lot more aggressive. At the same time, this is a more emotive record. I think it's a more introspective record as well. On top of the fact that, once again, this album was constructed in the midst of a global pandemic, which absolutely had an impact on the incredibly bleak vibe and aesthetic of the record. It becomes very clear very quickly that Conjurer is also very comfortable going into very dark and personal territory. Take, for instance, on the track All That You Will Remember, where Dan Nightingale sings about watching his grandmother fight dementia for just over a decade before eventually dying. It's a genuinely gut-wrenching cut. I mean, somber, anguished, post-metal arrangements and patterns contrasted with, like, doomy, sludgy beatdowns. Right near the end of this, there's a burst of, like, really emotionally charged black gaze that brings to mind the earliest recordings from Death Heaven. There's also a haunting spoken word passage courtesy of composer and violinist Alice Zawadsky, writing here, "Thoughts come to me like whispers and vanish just the same. Faces I have known and loved, replaced by masks of shame." And this shit hit me really hard, man. I've never mentioned this on the Metal Meltdown because there's never really been a need to, but both of my grandparents on my mother's side of the family, both of them had Alzheimer's before they died. You know, my grandfather had it over a very long period of time. He unfortunately passed away not knowing who I was, not remembering who I was, not remembering who his daughter was, who anyone really was. And when he passed away, my grandmother was just starting to develop Alzheimer's, and she didn't fully understand that he had passed away. And then when it finally clicked with her, she basically just went brain dead. Like, it is as close to dying from a broken heart as one could literally get. She physically could not handle him not being around anymore, and her mental health, her physical health just, like, immediately fucking plummeted. And listening to this song reminded me of going to see my grandparents in, like, the retirement home where we eventually had to put them because they were not safe in their own apartments anymore. And I remembered, like, that they didn't know who I was. I walked into their room, and they told me to leave because they didn't know who I was. And that hurt, man. That fucking hurt. There's also Suffer Alone, a very frenzied, bloodthirsty track that kind of taps into the collective disfusion and horror of the last few years of COVID-19 dystopian nonsense. A very clear byproduct of this album having been constructed in the midst of COVID-19. Duh. But just in case it needed to be said. There's also the oppressive, neck-snapping sludge and doom of album closer Cracks in the Pyre, which contemplates death and the afterlife. And then there's Basilisk, which is kind of fascinating because, to my knowledge, it's not explicitly about anything, But it feels as if it is, because there's so much going on atmospherically and musically. It's an angular, brutal, and uncompromising piece. It's gargantuan in size and scope, and genuinely pretty fucking gnarly. It's got tons of weird churning grooves and one of the heaviest breakdowns on the entire record right near the end of it. It's got these emotive screams. If you told me that it was about actually being strangled and swallowed whole by a basilisk, I think I'd fucking believe you. There are definitely parts of this track where, I definitely feel as if that is happening to me right now. Similarly, the double whammy of It Dwells and Rot feels like wandering aimlessly and hopelessly in some kind of sonic labyrinth. I mean, it's really a devastating opening to the record that touches upon a lot of familiar elements from Neurosis, some very, very, very early Mastodon, and I would argue like a little bit of The Ocean, namely in some of those really devastating grooves and beatdowns. The production value of this is almost inarguably incredible as well. Like, it doesn't matter whether you're listening to some eerie little post-rock guitar arrangement or some absolutely skull-crushing, sludgy, hardcore beatdowns. It always sounds impactful and important. Everything is always balanced. It feels very intimate, while simultaneously never compromising the massive size and scale, which is one hell of a remarkable feat. Conjurer clearly using the nuclear blast money very, very, very wisely here. If I really wanted to nitpick, I could argue that some of the tracks go on for a bit too long, but this seems ultimately pointless considering how much quality material is on here, and considering the fact that ultimately the album wraps up in a remarkably tight and sharp 50 minutes. And thank God, too, something as emotionally hefty as this does not need to go on longer than 50 minutes. Thank you, Conjurer, for that alone. Thank you. Yeah, I'm super fucking impressed by this. I'm honestly gonna go for 4.5 out of 5. I think this is an incredible record. Incredibly well made from start to finish. It's inventive and dynamic and absolutely crushing, both emotionally and sonically. I love the dual vocal approach on this thing. I like that there are some more monotonous cleans, some more like haunting melodies contrasted with these absolutely disgusting, gnarly kind of deathcore, hardcore, sludge metal gutturals and screams and barks. Definitely one of the more exciting and memorable like sludge post-metal records I've heard so far in 2022. I think I'd go as far as to say one of the best. There hasn't been like a ton of sludge or post-metal that has really stood out to me this year, but this is fucking awesome. This really is an incredible record. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be. So what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe right here so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.